Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. Here we'll talk to the leaders in technology, culture, business, and the arts. We'll cover politics, advocacy, motherhood, writing, mental health, and mostly we'll focus on hope. Join Kim B. Davis, author, playwright, radio personality, event consultant, professional speaker on the Kim B. Davis Show. Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening it is my pleasure to present Dr. Angela Celeste May, our clinical, our forensic, and our organizational psychologist. Good evening, Dr. Angie. How are you?
I am very, very well. Thank you. How are you, Kim?
I am great. I am excited because we are at the end of 2020. And it's our last show of 2020. So
yes.
I'm excited because I can look to 2021 and hoping that things are going to come for us.
Absolutely.
Because tonight I want to talk about gratitude. You know, 2020, as we've said all year, when we clap champagne glasses, this is not what we thought. Not at all. And then
True.
we had the year with racial unrest, political unrest. I mean, a second shutdown, just all kinds of things, divisive politics, just seeming to be non-stop, just anger and vitriol just thrown from either coast of the country. And for those of us that are in the Midwest, we just sort of feel like we're being squeezed.
Yeah. Yes.
And once the holidays came, I had an opportunity to be reflective and contemplative in looking back at the year and finding myself having gratitude. I am thankful because I'm still here.
Absolutely.
I am thankful my family is still here. You know, we have a home. I have the show that I get to do with people. I still have opportunities coming to me. And I had to look around and say, how blessed am I? Versus where I see on the news, 300,000 people have lost their lives to COVID.
Yes.
And that's a very sad thing. So I want to ask you, how has gratitude played a role in your life in 2020? And how have you used that to maintain your mental stability?
Oh, wow. Excellent question. Even though I knew we were talking about gratitude this evening, I wasn't expecting you to ask it in that way. I love that you did, though. I love that. I have to say that, you know, as I've talked about before, the way I'm raised and everything, part of it is my personality, first of all. I'm a very sunny side of the street type of person, you know, glasses half full, very realistic in terms of pragmatism, but a very positive person. So that's me. And then the way I was raised was, you know, also to think in terms of all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, as the scripture says, and knowing that God has a plan and knowing there's no mistakes and all of that. So with all of that being my makeup, for this very challenging year, for me, it hasn't, you know, I'm careful about how I say this to certain people because I don't want to appear like I'm insensitive to the very real struggles people have had for sure. But everything that's been thrown at us this year across the world, I have applied that same attitude because it's just, it's the way I think. It's the way I tend to live. So it's exactly as you just said. Even as there are very upsetting things that took place this year, you know, from the brutality against black and, you know, black bodies in particular, black and brown for sure, but black bodies in particular, it's just, there's just, you know, it just needs to stop. It's definitely upsetting. But as I look at what's upsetting, I look at what is God doing? What are the solutions? What do we need to learn from this? How do we move forward? So the forward thinking acknowledging what's wrong, and at the same time looking at what do we need to do. That's one part of how I maintain a good sense of sanity, and not feel stuck, not get into negative downward thinking. That's one thing. Another thing that's very much, and this is in no particular order, that's very much a part of the way I view things, and it keeps me on the upside, and that is looking at how events that have occurred, how God uses them for growth, how God uses them to help us move forward. So even the horrible death of a man, under the knee of an officer, my mom was the same way. We had talked. I lost my mom. And I don't like to say I lost her, because if we don't know where she is, we know where she is. Well, my mom passed. Yes, my mom passed in December, earlier this month. She was very much about look at what God is doing, and that's how my grandma is. That's how our family is. So for me, even seeing that horrible death, I see it, and then I see people across the world respond to that. Those are the things that help me really stay in a grateful mindset. I'm so thankful that this death was not another death that no one knew about, because there are so many we don't know about. God used this death to to wake a lot of people up, and to make changes that people have been working for and working towards for years. That straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. COVID-19, I mean, we don't know the whys and the wherefores and all that, but we certainly, once again, looking at the lessons, and what are we learning from it. And for me, just as you say, I've been so grateful that our particular family has not suffered any loss from COVID, but there are so many who have. So we all have lost together, because we're all part of the human family together. So even though I haven't had those losses in my family, personally, I know people who have, around me. But I'm very thankful for that. And then at the same time, I can join in the mourning and the sense of loss, but doing so by recognizing at the same time, as people have said, wow, we really need to respect, honor, and appreciate. That's the word. Appreciate our loved ones that much more. Appreciate contact and hugs and kisses that much more when we're separated from each other and can't do hugs and kisses like we'd like right now. All of those things, for me, help me appreciate that much more. Help me to recognize the outcomes, even though they're painful experiences, how it's helping to make changes that we needed to make anyway. So it's just all of it for me ties into gratefulness. And even like I said, the loss of my mom, thankfully it wasn't due to COVID. It was kind of a sudden loss for her, because as I've said, even though she was 90, she was so strong and healthy. And we have longevity in our family. So my great aunt lived to be 100, almost 102. So we thought we had several more years with her. Even in going through that, so thankful, so grateful for the time, so much laughter, all of it. So that's just the way I walk in the world, and that gratefulness. And I feel like that's a really important lesson for all of us. Everyone's in different places in their journey. And I really think that if you try to practice and develop a habit of gratefulness and grateful thinking, that when these difficult challenges and, like you said, unexpected events happen, when we're pummeled like this, that gives us another tool to lean on to help us to not get drowned, in negativity. So those are some of the things.
And all of those are good things. And here at the Kim B. Davis Show, we give you our sympathies and our condolences on
Thank you.
on your mother's passing. And as a fellow Christian, when you are absent from the body, that means you are present with the Lord.
Absolutely.
We know your
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So we know your mom is good. Your mom is telling you, okay, so worry about you because you
Yeah,
got to get here.
exactly. Exactly.
So, 2020, and I said this, 2020 has been that year where if you weren't paying attention, and I noticed it in myself, a tremendous amount of growth. I also noticed
Hmm.
it around friends of mine and just different things that I saw where people were
Hmm.
creative. They were writing books, they were starting blogs, they were selling,
Absolutely.
and they were doing all kinds of things. What would you say to someone who may not have taken advantage of 2020, but we still have a couple of days in terms of what did they learn about themselves this year and how to reflect back on that and pull out some lessons that they can take into 2021?
Oh wow. I think another good, excellent question, a great thought provoking question. I think one thing that I would say to someone who hadn't taken advantage all year long and with a couple of days left is to think about, reflect on New Year's Eve 2019 and the beginning of 2020 and reflect on, I was going to say a couple of things, but the number one thing is think about if someone from the future came back to January 1st, 2020 or December 31st, 2019 and said, these are all the things that are going to be coming, this year that is going to hit. The very air that we breathe may be poisonous to us. You can't, you just, you might endanger yourself and your loved ones if you shake hands, things that sound so far fetched. And we're going, sadly, we're going to see death in the streets. And to reflect on, if someone told you all of that, how you think you might respond, other than, oh, that's ridiculous, that's far fetched, But if you believed them, think about how you might assume, well, I don't even know if I could survive that. I don't even, are you serious? And then compare what you thought you might be able to deal with at the beginning of the year, and then look at where you are. And truly, there are people having difficult times for sure, of people struggling for sure with their emotions, their mental health, all that's real. But I would also say, number one of the main things I've learned and seen around me, I'm sure you have as well, is that 2020 has taught us that we have more resilience and more. I'm hesitant to use the word strength. We are strong, but I hesitate because we don't want to, give the impression that taking some time to lose your mind or cry, crying. There's power in all of that. It doesn't mean keep a stiff upper lip, but the fact that you can come through it on the other side, that your family members can come through it on the other side, that we have in our human DNA the tools to make it through even multiple grieving. It definitely can do damage, but we've learned that what we can come through, and that in and of itself is a lesson. That just by itself. So I would say that look at that and compare what you've gone through and that you're still here. And then number two, look at what did you have to do, what did you find yourself doing in terms of behavior, in terms of your artistic work, in terms of your thought process, all of that. What did you do to be able to stand here now in these last couple of days of the year? And that two-step process to reflect upon can really show you your growth, even if you didn't realize that you had grown. And you can, and then try to learn from that, those steps, and then take those things, good and bad. We've all made mistakes in this year, as and we've learned, we've leaned on some stuff, we've changed some things, which is all good. Like you said, I know I've grown so much this year, even more. Growth is a part of. Hopefully, we're all lifelong learners. But when we're pushed, when we're challenged, we grow even more. I would say take those two things to help us recognize, you know, uh, what we can take from 2020 into 2021 to continue growing. And then the other thing I would say also is I'm looking off because I'm like pulling up notes. I made notes for make sure. The other thing I would say is for the person who maybe hasn't started that book or maybe started it at the beginning of the year and put it down, reflect upon the preciousness of time. The preciousness of time. One thing that the COVID pandemic has definitely taught us, reminded us, and shown us is how quickly. I think that's one of the most devastating things about coronavirus is it can happen so fast. It doesn't if you get it and you recover, we know that there have been reports of lingering symptoms and etc. They call them long haulers. But for those among us who did not recover, who have passed from it, one thing we've learned so far about this new virus, quote unquote, is that it's not the kind of thing that people tend, it doesn't seem to linger with a long period of time. So we've lost people in a very quick, very quickly. So it reflect upon the preciousness of time and that the world needs what you have to offer in as a person, just in general, and whatever work you do, and definitely as a creative person, and reflect upon using that to motivate you to pick that project up again and continue in your own pace as you're able to do, recognizing that it's something else to be thankful for, and I was going to say to be even more thankful for. I think sometimes, because it's what we do it all the time. We're writers, we're singers, we're chefs, it's what we do. We know it gives us satisfaction. But sometimes I think we do take it for granted. Everyone can't do what we do. Everyone, we all have different gifts. And so I think it's another thing that I reflect upon is how 2020 has reminded us to be thankful that we can do what we do, that we have our gifts and talents, so use them. And then, of course, like I said, the preciousness of time. We don't know how long any of us are here. And so let those things motivate us in the last couple of days to start again, make a plan, sketch up an outline, and attend the retreat that my sister and I are putting on, which fits right into this. You're always so kind to ask what I've got coming up and what we have coming up. So since we're talking about this, I'll just plug this right here. As you know, my sister and I have a company, A.M. May and Associates Incorporated, and we do counseling and consulting and coaching. And we're doing our first 3-day virtual workshop, a retreat. I'm sorry, I call it a retreat. And it's at the end of January. So if you go to our website, amassociates.com, you can get all the information about signing up and all the details. But it's specifically, this 3-day retreat is specifically for what we're talking about. It's a reset going into the new year for 2021. Well, it'll be in January, so it's in the new year, and how to really reset your creative practice to thrive even more in the new year. So I would add that as well. Go to the website, amassociates.com, and sign up for the 3-day retreat. And it definitely speaks to how we can move forward if you've been feeling stuck, and even if you haven't, to kind of get that engine going again for the new year and beyond.
Thank you, Dr. Angie. That was an excellent answer. So I'm going to put a pin
Thank
in
you.
that because we're going to come back to that. But you had mentioned something about strength. And one of the things that we talk about specifically in the African American community, Black women, we have this I'm strong, I don't need anybody, I got it, I'm just going to put it on my back and keep going. And for some of us, that has been the death of us. And
Absolutely.
one of the things that I kept telling people, and you said it, you said, being strong, you can still cry, you can still
Absolutely.
write it out. You can have that moment where you're like, okay, I need to sit back, take a break, take a breather, and reflect, recharge, and then get back at it. One of the things
Absolutely.
that has helped me this year is I went back to my therapist, and I
Mm,
had to tell her, I said, look. I'm okay. But this pandemic and this shutdown, and she said, Kim, you weren't the only one. And I said, and everything politically. And we just started to talk, but I felt better. I
Yes.
wonder if people really understand the benefits of therapy, that
Oh my.
asking for help is not weakness. It is
Thank yes.
not
Say that
weakness.
again.
Asking for help is not weakness.
Exactly. No, absolutely. It is absolutely not.
So can you talk a little bit about that, Dr. Angie, a little bit?
Absolutely. Um, if you think of it this way,
Hmm.
even thinking about asking for help can feel scary.
Hmm.
It feels scary. Why is it scary? What's so scary about that? Well, it is the door to opening ourselves up to feeling to our vulnerabilities. There's it can feel scary because there's a fear that if I ask for help, then I will appear as if I am not capable, strong enough, or have what it takes, whatever that is supposed to be, to handle this on my own because of exactly as you say, that mentality that many black folks and black women are taught is that we're quote unquote supposed to be able to handle on our own. And so if you think about how scary that can feel to ask for help, then that's we call it reframing, where you take an idea, we define it in a certain way, but we try to kind of like redefine that a little differently. So rather than seeing asking for help as a weakness, think about how much strength it takes to open our mouths and say, you know what, I need help. That takes a lot of strength because you're putting yourself out there for, you're making yourself even more vulnerable, but it's all to the positive. It's all to the, these are the things that help us grow. And there's fear about how we will appear to other people. I think, some people, their greatest fear is appearing weak to themselves. And then for other people, the greatest fear is appearing weak, to others. But everyone needs help. One of the things I talk about is the myth of the self-made person. Ain't no such a thing as a self-made. And the reason I say that, self-made man, self-made millionaire, you can make the best product in the world, and if zero people buy it, you'll be sitting there with your $0 and your beautiful product. So, if you are a maker of things, you need consumers, you need customers. We help each other. Another thing I think about too is Christ's ministry. Christ did not need disciples, didn't need apostles, could have just gone on it. But one of the things that having the 12 apostles and then all the other disciples, including women and all the people who followed and supported his ministry, was to, and he actually preached this, is that Christian community, that community of helping each other, lean on each other. Paul said later, encourage each other in the church. That each otherness is the cornerstone of our strength. It's not this Protestant work ethic. I go on by myself. Like you said, it has been the death of us. And so we are no less strong. We're not weaker because we ask for help, because we all need help. We all need help, and it comes in different ways. And as someone who's done therapy for a lot of years, but before I stepped away from doing therapy, I definitely can testify to there's such power in what you described, going back to your therapist. Having the space, the non-judgmental space to just talk about it. Even being a psychologist, I definitely support therapy, absolutely. But everyone doesn't have to go to therapy because many things are therapeutic in value. But many people, if good therapy has been beneficial for so many things. Think of it as a tool in the toolbox, and all of us need support. And that power of just being able to talk it out and help, and having someone there to hear that and reflect it back and help us make sense of what we need to unravel in our minds can feel like a huge load,
Hmm.
off the shoulders. People find it in therapy, absolutely. Sometimes people find it, within my family, my siblings and my husband, to be able to just like talk some of this, just talk about it, just talk it through. It's like I said, it's very therapeutic. The value of a psychologist or someone who has the expertise in it is, oftentimes because of the training, you're paying them because they have the training to recognize some things maybe in what you're saying, some patterns that family members may not recognize, and then can offer some helpful solutions, some coping mechanisms. There's a lot there that can help us. But so yeah, there's absolutely nothing weak about asking for help, and I feel, and many people do, many of my fellow psychologists can agree to this, as fellow social workers, etc., that it's really a strength. It takes a lot. By the time someone opens their mouth and says to themselves in the mirror, I think I need to get some help, that's a journey.
Yes.
Most people don't just necessarily fall out of bed saying that. So that in and of itself shows a lot of, it shows self-care. It shows some level of self-esteem that, I'm going to take care of myself. It shows that you feel you're worth it. It's, even if you don't know what you may be, what you may get out of it until you actually go into it. But it's a wonderful, necessary for many people tool there that I strongly encourage people to take advantage of if they feel that they need that support.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So you made a great segue. So our last topic for the evening, self
Mhm.
care. So, this has been something that has been big on my list since I went through my battle with postpartum depression many years ago with my second son. It's been about 8 years. And the doctor
Mhm.
said, self care. You have to be able to take care of yourself. You take care of
Absolutely.
everyone else. What do you do for yourself? Dr. Angie, what are some things that people can do to help themselves to have a strong mental well being going into 2021?
That's one another excellent question. I'm looking over here at my couple of things I wrote down because um, part of my answer comes from some things I was thinking in terms of what we've talked about thus far, which is what to be grateful for and all of that. And um, in talking about self care, I think that one of the things that's important is to remember and reflect upon things that have worked before. That sometimes, like, there are a few things that I've gone back to that I used to do. For myself, I've been a long time exerciser. My dad was a champion athlete, all that. So my three siblings and I do different things fitness wise, whatever works for any of us. And one thing my dad used to always say is, like I said, he was a champion swimmer, he was a gymnast, all that. And he used to say, find what you enjoy.
Hmm.
So moving your body, so important. We are holistic beings, so our mental health is not separate from our physical health. If you are someone who is incapacitated in some way, perhaps you can't move like you would like to, anything that you can do, even if it's just breathing, and we know there's a lot of power in breathing. People have varying degrees of physical challenges. So even if you can literally just breathe, contemplate that breath, and take that breath in, take it out, count as you take, taking it in for 3 counts and exhale for 3 counts. Even just that, and I keep saying even because it's simple, but it's a very powerful thing. And all of the physical activity is tied to breathing as well, and our mental health too. So breathing, taking time to get connected to that breath is really, really important. It quiets down stress. It quiets down anxiety. It helps to center our thoughts. That's a very key part of self-care. So that deep breathing. For myself, I was talking about my mom was really good about deep breathing stuff, and I always encouraged her to do it. So she got better at it than I did. I was like, I got to do have deep breathing. My mom would always say, "Oh, you just fine. You just fine." So I lean on that, and the just fine is looking at. She would say is how I do prioritize taking care of myself. So deep breathing, absolutely. I make time to move my body. I make time to exercise. For me, I love lifting weights. Love lifting weights. I've always been an at-home exerciser. So I never stopped doing that, although I love to tweak what I do and what I do and everything. But what I had gotten away from was taking my walks.
Mm.
So I work out like 4 times, in terms of lifting weights and stuff like that, and do my jumping jacks and push-ups and everything, like 4 times a week or so, roughly 4 times. But I really, and I do yoga. I love to do yoga as well. But I getting back to my walks, so I enjoy that, even if they're shorter walks for the super cold weather. So the activity, the movement, and the breathing and all that that's something I do for self-care regularly, and I encourage people to do. I start I have if you don't have one already, I would encourage people to create, especially going into 2021, create and or tweak your morning routine.
Mhm.
The way you start the day sets you up for, as people have said, for the rest of the day. So I always start my day with gratefulness. I always say the 23rd chapter of Psalms, the 27th chapter of Psalms, and the 35th chapter of Psalms, and then read scripture. I write in my gratefulness journal. So I just carve that time out. Sometimes you can only do so much, but even if it's just, you got to jump out of bed, you got a lot to do, you don't have time, or you slept late or whatever, even if it's just 10 minutes. And if you don't have 10 minutes, get up and get going and just run down your thankfulness list as you're brushing your teeth. So creating a morning routine for yourself, I think, is really important for self-care. Starting your day to center yourself, carve out time for some kind of physical movement and exercise, focus on your breathing, and then nutrition. Same advice for nutrition as for exercise. If you want to get healthier and continue to support your immune system and all that going into into 2021, one of the ways to make it easier to do is to focus on stuff you like. So if you're trying to eat less sugar or less candy, then eat fruit that you love. If you're trying to, get more water in or step away from the pot or whatever it is, then explore, think of it as terms of exploration. Have fun with it. Well, what other stuff can I try? Well, I'm trying to do less Coke, so there are different sparkling waters. Should I do Perrier? Should I do Pellegrino? Should I do seltzer water? So explore. So taking care of yourself, being less punitive, I messed up. Know that we stumble as we learn, but find tastes that you enjoy that are healthier, dishes that you like, get creative with healthier options so that we don't have a mentality of deprivation. So I definitely those things. And as we feed and take better care of our bodies, of course, our mentality, it's all wrapped there together. And I said earlier, of course, a habit of gratefulness. And I want to also mention this too before I leave, before we finish up, and that is in terms of things we learned for 2021 to go into 2020 to go into 2021. That gratefulness also. This is one thing also that I really find that the way that I think that helps, and that is for every painful thing that's happened this year, look at how it's impacted. I mentioned that as well before, but I want to reiterate that too. Look at the impact. So one of the things is our voice. If we didn't, our younger generation folks may not know some of this, something in terms of the power of our voices, because they may not have, and I know I didn't. I came after the civil rights movement, so I was reading about them in history books myself. So I read about counting, what was it, bubble gum, numbers of bubble gum in a fishbowl to try and keep black folks from voting. If you can't tell me the number, then you can't vote.
Right.
We read about that stuff. I didn't know, and I'm sure generations younger than myself. Here we are living in a time in which our vote was tried to be taken from us,
Yeah.
so through suppression and all that. So I think I know that the protesting for social justice, civil rights issues, for political issues. One thing that I'm excited about that we have seen in 2020 is the power of our voices.
Absolutely.
If there was any doubt, we made some changes up in here. Are there more to be made? Of course there are. But I just want to say, when you have the NFL publicly apologizing,
Yeah.
don't tell me change can't come.
That's right.
Publicly apologizing.
Mhm.
And other major, like multi-billion-dollar corporations in the U.S. and abroad. I mean, I saw it in England. I saw it. People are tripping over themselves. Now, do we have much more to go? Of course, of course. But when we have had a cultural shift, thanks to the power of our collective voices and pushing, and of course, so much work that went before 2020, of course. But to see some of that come to fruition, where we have, like I said, multi-billion-dollar corporations tripping over themselves to show, see, no, look, we've got diversity in place. Really, what more can we do? We haven't seen that
Yes.
to
No.
that degree before.
Mhm.
And yeah, even our John Lewises and other longtime soldiers and have said they haven't seen this. So there's more to be built upon, but the just thinking about the power of our voices and its impact to remind us that we can make change, and if we can make global change and continue to work on that, we can make personal change too. It just all goes like hand in hand. So yeah, so just thinking about those things, and also another thing too, when you talked about creativity, what do they say, that necessity is the mother of invention? So many creative ways that our educators have had to, and parents had to figure out how to do this education thing virtually. Just really forced, I think, to dig deeper but look at, like you mentioned, what has come out of it. So let's take all of those lessons. Let's take all that stuff we've tapped into 2021 and build on it, and keep taking care of ourselves so that we can also keep taking care of each other. So yeah, all of that let's take with us. And the last thing I'll say about that is, the marching and the pushing for change, the change in the upcoming change in the White House. Can we have a moment? we came out.
Yes.
We came out. So we can kind of do this thing a little bit. And that's in spite of COVID. That's in spite of shutdowns. That's in spite of suppression. So we have a lot more power than we often realize we do, individually and collectively. I think all of it together reminds us in 2020 the necessity of taking care of ourselves, so that, because it goes hand in hand, we can take care of each other, and then so that all of us together can take care of our democracy, can take care of our earth, we can, what can we do to take care of each other, and so we can go forward in a positive way and keep growing. Just keep growing.
I couldn't have said it better, Dr. Angie. See, this is why we come to you, because you can sum up things and give us information. And everything you said was absolutely correct. It is important for us to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of one another. As Christ,
Absolutely.
the greatest commandment is love, and we are commanded to love one another.
That's right.
And
That's right.
together, our voice is extremely powerful, as we have seen across the nation and across.
Absolutely.
And as you said, time is precious. Although COVID did a lot of damage, it
Mm.
didn't stop anything from still continuing on. It just
That's right.
put us in our homes, and we had to learn how to do things a little bit differently. But as you said, many of us learned some great lessons on how to live.
Absolutely. And learn great lessons, and in some ways found better ways to do things.
Yes.
Of all this conversation about, a lot of people, I mean, I've been someone who's worked from home for many years, so I know I love it. I love it. But a lot of people are discovering, I kind of like this work from home business. So employers are being more amenable to, okay, when we go back, Maybe we'll do some more kind of telecommuting and allowing some more of that. So it's loosened up a lot of conversation. It's, all of that, all of that. So in some ways, we've learned some better ways to do some things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
2020 will forever be the year that we will remember, not only as COVID, but when things change from what we knew before. So it'll be interesting to see what 2021 brings us. But I want to
It
go
will.
back to your 3-day conference. Tell
Oh,
us
yes.
about that again and where we can find it, and then tell us where we can find you. Do you have a passage in the book you like to read to us before we go?
I will be honest with you. I've been reorganizing, and I don't have a passage. But what I actually thought to do with the book for today, I was like saying, do I see it? I don't have. I moved them. I'm sorry, but one of the reasons I mainly wanted this up is what I wanted to say about the book, and thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Is the whole book is about 2020. Even though I wrote it years ago, it's about everything we're talking about. That freedom, what is the experience of living without negative self-imposed limitations? If ever there was an era to feel that you are under a negative limitation, self-imposed or otherwise, it definitely was in 2020. And I would even go further to say, for many of us, the last 4 years of attempts at great suppression in our country and a disregard for our democracy, which we value, has also very much felt like additional limitations were put on us. So I say that really the entire book is about resilience, because as I have said in the past, I wanted to do that research for my master's thesis, which is what the original version of this was. Master's thesis turned into a book. I wanted to do research about what are the underlying themes of resiliency within humanity. And of course, I didn't research it with all humanity, but at least here in the West. But it's applicable across humanity. Whether or not, because I interviewed men and women, I interviewed people of different backgrounds, I interviewed white folks and black folks and different age groups, and I wanted that mix to see what are there and what I suspected there were. And of course, there were common themes that all of us can use when it comes to not allowing ourselves to be limited, even in limiting circumstances. It's like the saying that says, you can be enslaved, but not be enslaved up here, and that's where the true slavery is. So the entire book really, particularly the chapter that deals with the 7 themes, of course, those 7 themes that came out of the research, but the whole book, really from the beginning to end, it is about finding those ways and trying to identify those places in our lives where, from childhood or at whatever point in our development, whatever our environment may have been, that told us those ideas, that sold us on those ideas that we had to be limited in some way, whether that was based on your skin color, your gender, your socioeconomic background, who your president was, or whatever the case, and realizing that, even if those things are still there, I don't have to be limited by them in any way, shape, or form. So I will say one last thing about my book as well, and thank you for asking. Of course, you can find it on Amazon. There's hard copy, soft copy, and ebook version. I forget this myself, and that is when I did it as a master's student at the Center for Humanistic Studies here in Detroit. Center for Humanistic Studies. It's now known as the Michigan School for Psychology. One of the people I interviewed, everyone I interviewed, of course, I changed their names, maintained their confidentiality, etc. But there was one person I interviewed, and she's a black lady, a pioneer in humanistic psychology. So I was very blessed to have her. And she was faculty at CHS. We call it Center for Humanistic Studies for short. And her name is Sarita. So look in the book and look up Sarita, Dr. Sarita. She reminded me of my grandmother. This is a strong woman. She, first of all, she don't know what you're talking about. She never lived limited in her life.
Wow.
She knew who she was going to be. So It was a delight interviewing her, and it was an extra honor because, like I said, it was for my master's program. In all the years of Dr. Sarita Perry, is her name. She has since passed on, but in all the years of her work and her pioneering work in the field of humanistic psychology, and as faculty at CHS, she never sat for any. She was never involved in any of the students' thesis. So she only did mine, which was a high honor, high honor. So and interviewing her, it was like I said, she reminds me of my maternal grandma so much. But she was just absolutely amazing. So it was just an honor to interview all of the people and to have them share their stories. But yeah, the whole book is about resiliency. You do not have to be limited. If COVID has ravaged your own loved ones, you still have what it takes inside of that God has given you to continue and to grow and to thrive. Take the spirit of the people who have passed on. Take what they've given you. Take that love, tuck it in your heart, and use it to help you become whom they knew you could be as well. So I'll say that about the book. As far as the 3-day retreat, I keep calling it an event. I got to call it a retreat. It is a retreat. My company that I have with my sister Michelle, we started it many years ago when I was a doctorate student back in 1996, and so we never stopped doing the consulting and the different through the years, counseling, consulting, but it kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. And before COVID hit, we had already started in 2019, actually, to show you how God works, to kind of do a reboot of the company for today's technology and in the virtual world and all that. So we were already setting up to do work without walls, to really be virtual with all that when COVID did hit, and the Lord kind of fixed that for us to be already set up. So we've done consulting, we've hosted webinars, we've been asked to do lots of things this year. Wonderful honor. And so what's coming up in January of 2021 will be our first 3-day retreat, and it's specifically geared toward creative professionals. So if you are a creative professional, and anything that you can think of that has to do with creative professionals, authors like yourself, people who are chefs, people who do craft work, people who are doing sewing, dancing, music, performing arts, any of that stuff. If you are a creative professional, we invite you to come and join. So the 3-day retreat is led by Michelle, this first one that we're doing. So we're both kicking it off together, and I'm doing a segment to help get our minds ready, for a reset of whatever your creative work is, a reset in 2021 to really help us just go, with our work and our various projects and companies in 2021. So I'm going to help with that kind of mental, emotional, get us ready for it. But then Michelle is going to do the bulk of the 3-day retreat, and then I'm going to come on and kind of close with her so it's a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. And you'll see when you go to the website, amaassociates.com. We have our regular pricing. We have a VIP option as well. We are recording them and archiving them so that with the VIP price, you can have access also to those. So there's lots of good stuff there, and we welcome you. We hope that you come and join us, and it should be fantastic. We're really excited about it.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. Now tell us about your music, and I feel like, and there was we talked about the music video, right?
You know what? I hinted at it, so thank you for asking. I am. This year it's been interesting. Like for all of us, I have really. I usually crank out a music video with all the edits and the changes and blah blah blah. Within a couple of months. Depends, 30 days, couple of months. This year, it's just really been interesting, and we had to go back and reshoot some stuff. But we just kept going. So when I hinted at it before, and thank you for asking, I was like, it's getting ready to come out. I did the final edits that I sent to my filmmaker, Chris Epps of Haywood's Productions. So I just did that a couple days ago. So I thought we would release it, this year, but we somewhere between the 31st, the beginning of first week of January. But basically, this is the fourth music video that I've done. It's the third one from my 2017 album. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Angela Celeste May, you'll see lots of content, but you'll also see my other official music videos. This particular one, I'll go ahead and say it. It's the Detroit Youth Choir. I did mention that. So this was with the Detroit Youth Choir. And the song from the 2017 album, which is Reintroducing the Lady, that's the album. This song is called Listen Up with an exclamation mark. And I wrote it several years ago. A few years ago, I performed it, with my band, etc. But when it came time to record it, I really, my thinking, what can I say, my inspiration for writing it was to write an open letter to young people. So anyone can take benefit from it, but it was particularly to young people, to encourage them and to say, don't let anyone tell you that you can't, realize your dreams. Listen up, son. So it's got a little. How's my chorus go? I really do have a high voice. No one, I got to do more recording of my high voice. But the chorus of this song is listen up, son. You got to hold your head high. Hear me well, daughter, because your strength is no lie. And when the world tries to say your dreams won't see the light of day, go for yours anyway. So so that's like the little chorus. So we shot the music video, and my wonderful choreographer, longtime friend, she's so gifted, Jessica Gabrielle Thomas. So she did choreography. She's in the video. And so, yeah, that is the one that's about to be released. I'll say the next 2 weeks at the most. Should be before that, but next 2 weeks at the most. So look for that. I'll be releasing it on my YouTube channel. The Detroit Youth Choir, they'll be releasing it, on their platforms as well. So I wrote the song, produced the recording and all of that. I also, my production company, Celeste Productions, it's my other company I have, produced the entire thing. And I'm very much enjoying directing. So all of my music videos I co-directed. So I directed this as well. So I'm very, very excited about it. And so you have to tell me what you think when it's released. But it'll be released in a couple of weeks at the most.
Okay. Okay. We're looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Thank you. I am too. So it'll be fun. Great working with them as always.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Angie Celeste May. Our
Thank
time
you.
has come to an end. It is our last show. I want to thank you for being our regular guest who comes
Thank
here.
you. Thank you for asking me. Thank you for asking me back. It's
You're
such an honor. It is. Thank you. I'm glad to be part of the Kim B. Davis family.
That's right. We love having you on the Kim B. Davis Show to give us insight. You help us to reframe some of our issues and our concerns, and then you help to give us clarity when you explain different issues.
Oh, thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so
We
much.
hope to see you again in January, but I want to wish you a happy new year before we leave.
Thank you. Thank you. Merry Christmas, because we're still in December. Happy
Yes,
New Year to you and your family as well. And you work so hard. Just take that vacation. Take that rest. Keep resting.
I
You
am.
deserve it.
I have a few more days before virtual school starts back, and I'm like, oh, I'm back into the fire.
Uh, yes, enjoy. Feet up. Feet
Yes,
up. Doctor's orders.
yes, absolutely. I'm following doctor's orders. So,
Excellent.
everyone, thank you again for tuning in to the Kim B. Davis Show. We here at the Kim B. Davis Show certainly appreciate you. I appreciate you. From what Dr. Angie just said, put your feet up, have something good to eat, enjoy
Yes.
yourself, relax, reflect back on 2020, and look forward to 2021 because it is going to be a better year because God
Yes.
says it's going to be a better year. So we're going to put
Yes.
that out there and believe and pray on it. And
Yes.
always remember Be magnificent.